Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It is June 14th, 2026, and I'd like to first start off by congratulating my New York Knickerbockers on winning the championship in basketball after a 53-year wait, which is most of my life. It's one of those situations where you get to the promised land and you thought, well, it won't be too long till we get back, and it was a long ass time. And I remember when we lost to San Antonio in 1990, whatever, 4 or 5, whatever it was, 93, broke our hearts that year. And then we lost to the Rockets, which was an even harder loss because I think we had like a layup underneath the backboard to win the game. And I think like Charles Smith or somebody like that missed the layup and we lost. It was like or no, Ewing missed the finger roll, something like that. We missed an easy shot that like we should have, like you'd make 99 out of 100 times and we lost. So the city was going pretty crazy. So I got some phone video of some of it. It was pretty amazing the fact that we started out on such a horrible shooting. The first quarter was like horrible for the Knicks. I mean, some of the worst shooting I've ever seen by both teams. And that was like probably the only thing that kept us from getting totally blown out early was that neither of these teams were shooting particularly well. There's Dolan with Brunson. Brunson really carried us on his back. 46 points, 45 points. Big up to Brunson. Big up to the Knicks. It's an amazing victory for you guys. Was it all staged? Was it all fixed? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, some of those games, I don't see how you could. They won by 1 point. Uh, all the games except for one were close. Were within points of each other. This was a 4 point loss. 94-90. We won 106, 105. I think so. Can you fix a game where it's 1 point? Maybe. There were a lot of missed field goals. I will say that. Anthony Michael Towns totally let us down in the last game. Anunoby had almost no scoring, maybe like 10 points. It was really all Brunson and a couple of other guys. Without Brunson, there's no way we don't get even close to the finals. He's the man. He's the guy that put us on his back. And everybody in the city knows that. So there's going to be a ticker tape parade on Thursday. And then the other big revelation was what happened. Tulsi Gabbard on her way out said, hey, guess what? The U.S. has funded 120 biolabs in 30 different countries. I remember 4 years ago doing a show about something like that with not naming is that many, but that Hunter Biden and other people in the Defense Department were involved somehow in these biolabs, right? And some of those biolabs were in Ukraine. They weren't set up properly. They had, level 4 pathogens in them, and it's a biolab that's set up not to set up not to hold those kinds of pathogens. They have to be stored in a very special way, in a special facility. And going back through my old shows, I'm also finding out that Fauci was investigated at some point in 2018 for something about COVID that they were messing around with it at his lab. That I remember he had a Midwestern biolab that Fauci set up. Remember I did a show on that? And I've done so many shows now, it's approaching 1,000 shows that you have to go back and look at just the titles of some of them and say, hey, wait a minute, we were talking about what you're talking about right now 4 years ago. And so were some other channels who were looking into the fact that there were biolabs in Ukraine that nobody knew existed. They were in nondescript buildings that weren't even labeled, some of them, as a biolab, right? One of them was a veterinary's office. So we're going to look into more of that. We're looking into more of that in this show. Back in 2022, then former Rep Tulsi Gabbard got blistered for raising concerns that the United States might be funding bio-research labs with dangerous pathogens in foreign countries like war-torn Ukraine. But we were talking about that uh, in around that time as well, right? That's when it came out. You're right. When Gabbard was talking about it a little bit, other people, but then we were going further, digging into it even more, looking into the fact that Some of these were connected to Hunter Biden's LLCs. And this, if he gets connected back to this now, his pardon doesn't stand anymore. That was for other crimes. Republican Mitt Romney, like Gabbard, a former presidential candidate, accused her of spreading treasonous lies and Russian propaganda, and many in the news media joined the chorus in a concerted effort to diminish the threat that U.S. tax dollars could one day lead to an accidental virus outbreak from one of those foreign labs. Well, what do you think part of the reason that Russia's all pissed off about it and going into Ukraine for? That's part of it. You're setting up biolabs that in the country right next to them that could possibly be used to leak a pathogen into Russia. So I was up pretty late last night. My voice is a little torn up. I try not to scream too much. Those are hard games to watch, too. Highly emotional games, super close. Only one game was like kind of, we were getting, of course, blown out by 29 in one game. I actually turned, uh, I was watching on my computer in my bedroom and I turned it off because I said, I don't think, there's no way. And then I said, well, let me check the TV back at and then I saw we were making a run and I started watching again. That 29-point comeback is going to go down in history as one of the biggest comebacks ever. And in that, there was 5 different things that should have happened that should have made it not happen. That's why some people are saying it's fixed, because how could you fuck up that bad if you're San Antonio in that game? You should have won that one for sure. All the guy had to do at the end of the game was keep dribbling the ball. Instead, he tried to go for a layup, which wasn't necessary. And he got stuffed by Anunoby, who then goes back down the court and becomes the hero of the game when Brunson misses that long 3 that bounces off the front of the rim and just happens to go, right? He just happens to fill the one space by the rim that nobody's filling because Wembanyama's all the way up on the top of the key trying to stuff Jalen Brunson's 3-pointer. It was a genius play because you got Wembanyama out of that area, right? Which is what you needed in case you needed to crash the boards. And what does Anunoby say? As soon as he sees that he's not getting the shot, he goes, what does he do? He crashes the boards. That's what you're taught to do. You crash. Every man crashes the boards, hoping that maybe you'll get that tip in, right? Or maybe you'll get that quick rebound and shoot back in or something. So 4 years later, Gabbard turns the tables in an epic fashion, right? In one of her final acts as the U.S. DNI, she declassified evidence Friday showing that America did in fact fund a whopping 120 biolabs in 30 foreign countries, and that some of those labs that handled dangerous pathogens or were engaged in virus-enhancing techniques known as gain-of-function research. So it's not just in University of North Carolina. It's not just Daszak and other people doing it all overseas because they get caught. And Obama says, "Oh well, you can't do that anymore here. Do it somewhere else." we need, we need, uh, we need to be able to. We need deniability. That's what we need, right? We can't have this shit going on at University of North Carolina anymore because someone's going to find out that we're making a virus more deadly. Instead of working on ways to kill viruses and make them so they can't hurt us anymore. And yes, Ukraine was one of the locations with multiple labs. Despite the obvious potential for catastrophic global impact research on dangerous pathogens and biolabs can have, politicians, so-called health professionals like Dr. Anthony Fauci, and entities within the Biden administration's national security team lied to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded and supported biolabs and threatened those who attempted to expose the truth, quote-unquote, Gabbard declared in a video released on her social media account. That's fact. That's fact. She's one of the people that got demonized for doing that, and it was true. Why were those people demonized? Well, because you were accusing the sitting president's son of being part of it, and himself being part of it as well, because uh, Biden had to have known those labs existed there and maybe helped set up some of those, although some of those were set up like way before that under Obama and others, right? Obama's the one you got to go back and look at. The release of the declassified memos and video statement was more than just a retort to Romney. It was a rebuke to the journalism profession and its pack mentality. Yeah, people should have gone to her directly and said, "Hey, can we have an interview with you?" Almost nobody wanted to do that because nobody wanted to talk about that fact. Numerous legacy media outlets, including the New York Times, long claimed that conservatives were pushing conspiracy theories relating to the funding of biological laboratories in other countries. Some got the basic facts wrong. Others changed the argument, excuse me, suggesting there was no reason for concern because tax dollars weren't going to bioweapons labs, but they were. They were. Nearly all myths are distorted Gabbard's factually driven point. Whether for peaceful research or heinous weaponry, a biological lab with dangerous pathogens in a foreign country struck by terrorists or war like Ukraine posed an avoidable risk. Exactly. You're also endangering everyone in that nation, plus neighboring countries, doing your dirty work because you don't want to do it in your own country anymore. So that was the other big revelation that came down. But that we had the biolabs, we set them up years and years ago. Most of them were hidden and top secret. Some of them weren't up to snuff. They were storing pathogens where they weren't under the wrong way, where they could possibly leak out. They were just in refrigerators. Trump pardons former GOP congressman convicted for insider trading. So it looks like the pardons are starting to roll down. Remember, he said 250 pardons he might do? It's a lot of pardons. Is he going to pardon Hunter Biden? Joe already pardoned him, right? But is that for future crimes or just crimes at that moment? Because there's other crimes this kid did, right? He never opened up all his LLCs. Does he have access to any of those LLCs? He had over 20 of them, I think. I bet you he had others he never even found under other names where he hid it better, and he's still got money. Because he's going to Coachella. He's got money. Someone's giving him money. Right, you drained your lawyer bro's bank account out. He had about $6 million. Somebody drained him dry. He got I'm assuming somebody gave him the money back clandestinely. Trump pardons GOP congressman. Africa CDC and the WHO announced a joint response plan to Ebola outbreak. They're saying Ebola's getting worse in Congo. You know they have that giant spider in the Congo, right? They found more evidence of these giant spiders that are huge that like literally can like take a person, like like spider webs that are like 5 feet wide along jungle trails, that finding animals just completely dead, like all the blood sucked out of them. They got those massive, there's parts of Congo, I mean, in other parts of Africa and in the jungle where no human's ever been. That's how deep some of the jungle is. Imagine that. To this day no one's been there. So who knows how big some of these creatures, how big these pythons could get, how big some of these spiders can get. That creeps me out, man. I'm not going to Congo anytime soon. Sorry. You're not getting me in the deep jungle in there. No way. That's the one place I do not want to go. All kinds of problems. South Africa's rolling out a twice yearly HIV prevention drug. So I'm like, I wouldn't take that. Who the hell? You got an HIV drug now? Why? Is HIV that bad still? Shouldn't be. Well, it might be if you put some of it in the vaccines, some part of HIV in the vaccine. Not all of it, maybe just a part of it that unlocks the cells of the human cell, maybe. Why else would China make a HIV chimera back in 2007 and 2008? Is that why you keep censoring this station so much? Because I don't censor myself. I'm talking about stuff that most other people either don't know about or haven't spoken about yet. And I'm not sure why that is. I guess because they want to make money, right? And they need to not be censored so they can only talk about certain things. Like keep telling you the same crap for 4 years straight, 5 years straight that never happens. Like there's going to be a quantum banking system. any day now, and it never comes, right? Like that. I look back because I was remembering like Agenda 2020 they were talking about, but when did it really start? Was it Agenda like 2000? I remembered it being. That's as far back as I could sort of when I first started hearing about what there's an agenda that some people have for what? Like you want to make the world like what, a better place? No. It's like this is our mission of how we're going to take over the world in a sense, and we're going to show it to you because we have to show it to you so that uh, if you go along willingly with it, then we're justified and we're clear, right? We're not doing anything wrong because you said it's okay. You went along with it, right? Which doesn't mean we're complying with it because we don't understand what you're doing, right? And we don't have another option. So this was Agenda 2000 for a stronger and wider union. With the adoption of about 20 legislative measures, the union completed its Agenda 2000 project in 1999, which is the year what The Matrix comes out. It's the same year that Existence comes out and some other interesting type movies. The original Commission communication on which the project was based, Agenda 2000 for a Stronger and Wider Union, comprises a single, complete framework offering a clear and coherent vision of the Union's future on the threshold of the 21st century. Its primary aim was to ready the Union for its greatest challenges, the reinforcement of its policies, and the accession of new members within a strict financial network. Yeah, but what was it really doing, right? You were opening up Europe, right, and saying, hey, it's the European Union now, right? You can travel in this whole area. There's only one currency. We're going to have the euro. It'll be all these countries using it. It'll make it a more powerful thing and it'll be good for everybody. But really, was it good for everybody? No, it wasn't good for some of those countries, the euro. In fact, it hurt some of those smaller countries. They got hurt, and it made it easier for certain groups you to influx in certain groups in the next 10 to 15 years after it, right? So this is just like how they did the agenda, what they were trying to do, but you realize later it was more, right? It was about the European Union, the euro. It was the euro. It was about trying to get away from certain currencies of other nations, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I wrote open up the European Union. Remember, free travel, no visas? Well, that was laying the groundwork for flooding Europe with migrants, quote unquote. The plan was in place 20 plus years ago for that. Right. And we sort of pushed it back 20 years with what, and then what happens? Boom, the next year, what in 2 years later is 9/11. Boom, right? They're steering you towards an authoritarian world where um, you need the government to protect you, right? There's a threat out there. There's some people that want to kill us. There's a group of people. There's been so many different names, right, of groups of people. It's Al Qaeda. It's Daesh. Uh, uh, it's the Muslim Brotherhood. Right. It's all these different groups that you never heard of in some foreign land deep in the heart of Afghanistan somewhere. It's a guy named Osama bin Laden, right, who was a former CIA asset. It's whoever they say the enemy is, right? Like in 1984 and all these movies, like in not V, sorry, and what's that other movie called? Uh, where it's like a letter and it's about the guy with the mask on. I don't remember the name. It's always an authoritarian group that wants to rule over humanity and mankind. And the way they're going to do that is through usually domination, right? Domination of the news cycle, domination of the money, corporate domination. In this case, they just turned you into the money. And they trade you like a 30-year bond to other banks and they make profit off you your whole life till you die. Here's viral news on Twitter. Mamdani backed House candidate Daria Liza Avila Chevalier plays stupid about her anti-American comments she made. I also believe she was at October 7th celebration protest the day after the October 7th terrorist attack. She should not be in government, I wrote. Or he wrote that, actually. So some people running in New York right now are basically just this communist ticket that put Mamdani in is trying to strengthen its power now and put up other candidates. And some of them are probably going to win because they got these younger generation duped. They're buying what Mamdani's selling. I don't know how, but they are because they're stupid. And they don't know anything about what communism is and what socialism is and what fascism is. They have no concept that, fascism and socialism aren't that far apart, really. Not really too far. Um, one thinks that the government should rule all industry, but communism is also pretty high up on saying, hey, the government should rule your life in a big, big way. The government's going to give you everything, your food, your whatever land you get or whatever. You can't own any lands. You'll be able to work our land for us. Maybe you can rent it from us, but we get most of the product, right? It's not a fair system. And that's what I've said, in every system, even capitalism, there has to be a slave class. There has to be a lower class that doesn't make it, that doesn't prosper as much as. That's why these people in the Democratic Party say we have to import more migrants. We need their labor. We need them to do the stuff, the jobs that Americans won't do. Like what? Mow your fucking own lawn? You can't mow your own lawn? Well, then you shouldn't have a lawn then if you can't take care of it. Or if you have enough money, man, you could pay some kid to mow your lawn. That's how it used to be. It wasn't a Mexican migrant doing it for you back in the day. Why can't we mow our own lawns? Why can't we wash our own dishes? Why can't we serve ourselves our own food? We can't. We've done it before. They've just made up like this whole thing that you have to have these migrants. Well, look at all these farms. They can't pick all the food without these workers. Why not? They did it fucking before. They had their own family members do it. People in the community helped each other get their crops in. You helped each other, right? You didn't have to import labor from another country to do some job you can fucking do. Why would I do that? So I can pay the guy less? You used to make your son do it. Your kids do the work, right? Then you pay him nothing. You're paying him with the food and the shelter that you're giving him and the clothes, right? And the food and everything. Here's a Judicial Watch, X.com. Thanks to Judicial Watch, our lawsuit just uncovered that New York City's multi-million-dollar FEMA spending spree to house and feed migrants, 188 million spent on illegal aliens instead of border protection. Tom Fitton. Oh, it's way more than that. It's billions and billions we spent illegally housing these people in the Roosevelt's Hotel and places like that we were documenting the whole time. And who sent them there? Paxton from Texas sent them fucking there. Excuse my French. Here's Judicial Watch. Yeah, we were spending way more than 188 million. You're talking about billions that they jilted the system for because they're putting these people in $250 a night hotel rooms, they're saying. Not $80 a night hotels out by the airports or wherever. No. You're putting them up in Midtown Manhattan at some of the more expensive hotels in the city. Why would you do that? Well, because we're not really charging. We're charging the city 250, but somebody's getting a piece of that money, right? Somebody like I don't know, somebody under the last mayor. The final laps before the major overhaul. CERN's accelerator operators have just fired the starting pistol for the last run of the Large Hadron Collider. So they're shutting the Large Hadron Collider down. Finally. Finally. After so long. Now, is it going to be gone forever? It doesn't seem like it. It said at the end of June, 4 years of work will begin to transform the Large Hadron Collider into a high luminosity accelerator. So what does that mean? They're changing it into a different kind of accelerator. Well, what's that going to do? Open up other areas that we don't want to open up? And no, you should be blowing this shit all up and throwing the plans away because it doesn't do anything good to help this planet. But I just wanted to note that they're taking CERN apart, which is a big deal because they won't be able to use it for a long time, and hopefully it won't be used ever again for that purpose. If it was in fact opening up, we don't know for a fact that it was, right? People were intimating that, hey, these guys are doing some bad stuff, and my intuition tells me, yeah, they were. Here's another big story that came out because you know that they did Spencer Pratt dirty, but it's now coming out that they were paying homeless to vote over there as well. Because there's no way that she came back on from Nithra Ramyan, who was in third place, came back and beat Pratt. I doubt it. And you could see why they do the election the way they do, because then it's the same scam. It shows how many votes they're down. Okay, we got to get Pratt out. How many votes do we need to get him out? Well, we're going to need another week because he's up big. And all of a sudden, hey, how many of those votes that came in were for Pratt? Oh, almost none. You mean like the same thing that happened with Biden in 2020 when, like, in Michigan, where there was 120,000 votes in the middle of the night? You mean when vans showed up at like 2 or 3 in the morning with 100,000 ballots, and most of them were all Biden and almost none Trump? Right. We remember that. Right. That was 6 years ago, but it's still fresh in my mind. Remember when they were plastering over the counting room so you couldn't see inside? Some of those places. What was that, Detroit? Remember when they plastered over the counting room and you couldn't see inside, which you have a constitutional right to do, that observers have a right to be in that room and to be close enough to be able to observe the counting of the ballots and how stacks of ballots looked like they were the same, pristine, like they were just came off the printing press, all with the same exact layout of votes on them, right, for Biden every time. So yeah, they're doing every trick in the book. Paying homeless to vote is just like the other scam I told you about, which was called cooping gangs, right? When they used to have the cooping gangs go out, they'd kidnap people and they'd kidnap you for like the whole day on election day, and they'd make you vote multiple times. They might take a guy who has a full beard and make him vote once, and then they'd take him to the barber, they'd get him a haircut, they'd get him a shave off part of his beard so he still has mutton chops or whatever, and maybe a goatee. Then he'd vote twice. Then they'd shave off his full beard. Then he'd vote 3 times, right? You'd have 3 or 4 votes per person sometimes. You could do with these gangs, and it was a real thing. Right? We've already looked up cooping gangs. That's where the term I feel cooped up in my house. I'm feeling like I'm cooped up. Well, yeah, you're cooped up like a cooping gang, like a pigeon that's flown the coop, right? You keep pigeons in a pigeon coop, like Mike Tyson used to like to keep pigeons on the roof of the building where he lived, right? He had a pigeon coop. Trump calls off Iran strikes, tells the Post the U.S. Tehran deal is all wrapped up. He says it's going to be this Sunday, so we'll see. Gabbard releases intelligence showing federal government has funded 120 biolabs, double confirmation, 30 countries. The Patriot Oasis on X.com wrote, just in, independent journalist Nick Shirley says he has identified the man who threatened to kill him in broad daylight. Kane, have we found out who is this man? Shirley, yeah. Quote, yeah, I have found out who this man is. He's actually an immigration lawyer here in New York City down by Chinatown, quote unquote. Like he said, he is very well known in left-wing organizations if you show his face. I have a buddy who has said that he's threatened his life as well. So this guy's walking around threatening people's life with his dog. He's a lawyer. And doesn't this guy know the law? In other words, if I come up to you, right, and I say, hey, I'm going to fucking kill you, man. I hope someone fucking kills you. I can take that as a threat that you're going to hurt me, and I could strike you maybe, right? Well, you need to be careful how you operate in this world, right? You're very careful. I'm not saying you should strike somebody. Only if you feel that there's no other way out of a situation would you do that, right? You're cornered. You're defending one of your loved ones, your family. You're in your home. Something happens, right? It's up to you how you react. But like we saw that guy who had a guy break into his house, and Some other people would have grabbed the biggest blunt object and just killed that guy with it, right? Or tried to. And but this guy actually talked to this guy and said, "Hey, are you all right? Like, are you former like army or something?" And he realized this guy's, former armed forces having a PTSD incident of some kind. Obviously, totally flipping out, breaking down his door over nothing, right? Doesn't even know the guy. Imagine that happened to you. How would you react to that? Well, most people, if they had a firearm in the house, that guy's got a whole problem, right? He's probably going to get shot. This guy didn't have a firearm, luckily. I remember that story. So we've surely found, yeah, you know what? You got the guy on tape threatening you. So it's an open, shut case. Take him to court. It's an attempted, whatever you want to call it. What's it called? It's threatening. What do they call it? Menacing. It could have been. I don't know what the law that he broke is. Right. It's like menacing in a sense. You're coming up to someone, threatening them. You're giving them. It's not a terroristic threat per se, but you are threatening the person's life. You're saying that someone's going to get you. Right. I hope that somebody gets you. See, he couched it a certain way. He didn't say I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to do it, but he said someone's going to get you. Right. You're in New York. Someone's going to find you. So he couched it in a way where, like, technically he didn't threaten him, right? And he wasn't in his space threatening him, but uh, there's some kind of lawsuit that's menacing at the least, right? It would be like a menacing thing where you're making a threat. You're threatening someone's well-being. Tommy Robinson was his POV walking through part of Germany was just like unbelievable, right? There's just guys in these parks doing drugs and selling drugs, and it's just become a total nightmare. Parts of Germany are just there's no go zones, and like this kid was saying, you're gonna have. And Germans are very proud people. I know they are. They're gonna take their streets back, and when they do, it's gonna be ugly. Because what do you think is gonna happen when groups of men who know how to fight get together and go start doing street patrols and say, hey, let's go through that park where all those gang members are and all those drug guys are. Let's go take care of that today. Think the cops are going to stop them? They're not going to be able to. They might be able to, but they probably won't stop them because they want them to do it. And so does everybody else. And when you get the public behind what you're doing and the cops, well, because the only people that are defending these migrants who are in these countries doing what they're doing is the cops. And once they aren't able to protect you anymore because there's too many people in the public that are against you, well, your health is drastically your health is in jeopardy. Let's just put it that way. You saw what's going on in Ireland. They're burning down these migrant centers. They're starting to. There was an incident where a migrant tried to cut somebody's head off, literally tried to behead the guy in the middle of the street. Right? Andy Public UK, migrant hanging around children's park gets taught a lesson. Yeah. Here's a guy hanging around a little girl on a swing, and the guy goes up to the girl. I don't know if it's his daughter, and says, "Did this guy bother you? Did he say something?" She says, "Yeah, he was talking to me." Right, and then he's sitting on a bench, like about 30 feet from where the girl's on the swing, just pretending to be not having a nice day, hanging out. But he's not. He's a pedophile, right? He's watching this girl. He's trying to get her away from the swing. He's trying to get her away from near where her house is, I guess, right? I don't know if the girl's parent was around, but you need to keep your kids a lot closer, especially in some of these places like Scotland, Ireland. So it's not just Ireland that's pissed, it's Scotland that's pissed. A man goes up and teaches this guy a lesson. Not only did he teach this guy a lesson, he chased him out of the area. He basically almost beat him up. He was about to. Trump storms out of the meeting with the Meet the Press interview. Yeah, she wasn't, how are you going to have an interview with this kind of person? She's never going to let you finish a sentence. But Trump doesn't look like the real Trump in that interview. He looks horrible. It doesn't look like him. Something's wrong. The eyes are wrong, the hair. New York City rejects the permits for MSG's outdoor Knicks watch party for Game 3. You can't. The other day they were like, this is a bad idea. Why do you want to stand in the middle of the street in the sidewalk watching this? I'd rather be in a bar, in a comfortable bar somewhere with a seat, or better yet, my house with maybe some friends and a big screen TV and some beers and some za, whatever you want, right? Some Zaza, some beers, whatever. Some hashish. I mean, can, everything's legal now up here in New York. You You want to smoke hashish? You can. You want to smoke weed? You can. You want to drink a lot of alcohol? You can. Opinion: the Democrats want another long, hot summer of violence. Sure, that's what they want. I mean, look what's going on with the Carmelo Anthony murder case where the track star got stabbed to death, remember? White kid got stabbed by a black kid. Black kid brings a knife to a track meet and then goes and antagonizes the other team, stands under their tent, has no business being there, and then won't leave, trying to start a fight. Right? This kid instigated this whole incident, and then his family profited off it, which is even more disgusting. And then this poor man whose son has already been murdered has to deal with death threats coming from the African American community who feel that this kid was justified in doing what he did, that's really the disconnect. But what are those people trying to do? They're trying to start a race war, like I said before. They're trying to start a race war. Bottoms up. HelloFresh promotes prepping for anal sex in disturbing social media posts. The post also included a promotional code Bottoms Up for a Pride Month discount. Hey, are you prepping to get... are you prepping for some Pride Month? Are you prepping to get raunchy on Pride Month? Is somebody gonna... All right, sorry, I'm not gonna go there. All right. There's many, many things I could say. I gotta hold back. I gotta stop because I could go there and I want to. I want to make fun of it so bad, but I won't because there's people actually doing that. There's people that are getting ready. Let's just put it that way. And, hey, if that's your thing, go ahead. Just do it in the privacy of your house. I don't want to know about it. I don't care about it. I don't want to know what you do. I don't care about what your sexual background is. Don't put it in my face. Don't push it in my kid's face. I don't care if you want to be a tranny, but don't push it into my kid's school. Don't try to read my kid a story. Just go to a club and do that thing that you do and just have fun, right? Don't try to be around my kid with it, though. That's where I draw the line. Obama-backed solar firm collapses after big federal loan guarantee. That was Solyndra. Remember, I was trying to show you that Obama was also involved with some companies that a whole bunch of money got invested in and didn't do shit, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, where does all that 200 million bucks go? It went into Biden's pocket. It went into Obama's pocket. It went into somebody's pocket. So this poor kid from Penn State, he got murdered for his phone in South Philly. How much can your phone be worth? Well, nowadays, some of these new phones are like $1,000. Right? They take your phone, and then if you're stupid enough to like have your apps on there, right, that are like connected to your bank account, and then they got you. They can start charging and doing all kinds of shit, right? That's why you never do your banking on that phone. Never, never, never. Don't bank online. Don't do it. It's stupid. You gotta do some banking. Go take your fucking check into the bank and deposit it in the machine or at the teller like everyone else does. Don't do this online bullshit. Because then once somebody gets your phone, they got your whole world. Somebody gets my phone, all they got is some pictures of me, and that's about it. You got nothing else about me. You got none of my banking information. Nada. Armed robbers murdered Penn State student for his phone in South Philly. So I would say stay out of South Philly if you're a white person right now. It's not a good place to be. It's not safe. Most of Philly, I just would say it's a write-off. Don't even bother going. Yeah, it's great for a cheesesteak, but that's about it. What else are you going to do there? Want to go to Kensington? Go check it out. Go check out the zombies. It's even worse off, I'd say, than New York in some ways. You know, in other ways, like somebody was saying, "Wow, New York's a lot is cleaner than San Francisco." That's for sure. Um, and we also don't have a tenderloin that's 20 blocks wide by 20 blocks long. We used to have a tenderloin in New York City, in Midtown. Actually, it was called that was one of the tenderloins where a lot of the prostitution got pushed and the coke places and the weed. There was weed. What are they called? Weed pads. Like you can go and like smoke and buy some weed, right, and stuff like that. Prostitution places, cocaine bars. diehard Spencer Pratt supporters devastated by late vote surge as faith in election falters. Yeah, he already conceded, right? But he also says he has some stuff that one of these people said on tape that if it gets out, it's going to destroy their career. So, like, let it out. What are you doing? Like, let it out now. Why would you not do that? Why would you do it before the election? I would have done it before, right before the election started, so everyone would see it. Suspected Hamas terrorist busted for plot to bomb Israeli crews. Trump administration sees increasing threat of espionage from Israel over Iran deal. The reports could further complicate the planning between the U.S. and Israel. Yeah, well, I mean, don't you remember that the NHL's, what was that company called? NSO software that they have, right? Uh, and that software, once it's on the computers of the U.S. senators and congressmen's phones got compromised. The whole system was compromised. Remember all those people that the Awan brothers had access to, and they never found out what happened with that. And then on top of the Awan brothers, you have the NSO group, and you have that new software that they found installed on some of the senators and Congress people's phones, which means the whole system is probably compromised, or part of it is. Alejandro Mayorkas admits he did a bad job with Biden's border. Quote, I'm not in a position to speculate, but I will tell you that I would be far more better rested and less punched if the Biden administration acted sooner. Well, you didn't exactly tell him to act sooner. You were the one going along with it. You never said it. You never, you didn't even disagree with him. Wait till you see what IDs California accepts for voter registration. Yeah, I think they were taking like your gym membership ID. Hey, will you take my gym ID? Yeah, okay, whatever, sure. You're Planet Fitness? Good enough. No picture on that, right? No problem. So California is a complete joke. So is New York. China beats Elon Musk to launch world's first commercial brain chip. What's after the Internet of Nanobio things? Well, I don't know. It's replacing parts of your body with like machinery, right? Hey, your kidneys don't work anymore? No problem. We got these synthetic kidneys that work. How about that? You want an electric heart? They already had the fake heart for a while, right? That was working for a while. They didn't actually perfect it though. And what happened with Musk? He just became the first trillionaire, right? What happened? Space Force went public. Well, doesn't that make you think? Well, wait a minute. Wasn't who else was talking about being in aerospace and his company going public at some point soon? Wasn't that David Wilcock with Savati? I think it was called Savati Aeronautics or whatever. He was making. They said they were making these, planes that weren't running on the same propulsion systems anymore, right? Which means he was getting into the anti-gravitic craft. Maybe that's why they killed him. And then they said, "No, you're not doing that. We got SpaceX coming out with that soon. Don't worry about it. We're gonna steal your shit because it's open tech, right?" If you remember what's his name? The guy that got killed. He put the plans out for the triangular craft, right? Anybody could make it. It's out there in the public space. It's there's no uh, nobody's patented it. Numerology in the NBA. I wanted to watch this because it was kind of interesting what this guy was talking about. Let me see if I can find this.
Avait prédit la mort de Kobe Bryant.
So I have to read this to you. First, he's talking about Kobe Bryant's death was predicted, right, in one of these cartoons where you see like there's a crash and it's Kobe and he's got the NBA thing, and this was like before Kobe died, right? One of these cartoons came out, same thing like The Simpsons, and predicted it.
Avec un crash
With an
d'hélicoptère
identical
identique.
helicopter crash. It's Kobe Bryant. Help me. Boom, and then it blows up. Because athlete sacrifices are part of a massive ritual, he died at 41. And Kyle Busch also died at the age of 41, 3 days after Victor Wembanyama, nicknamed the Alien, scored 41 points. Kyle Busch appeared in commercials where he was abducted by aliens. To normalize the idea of abduction, Kobe Bryant collaborated with Nike on extraterrestrial shoes, and Wemby is doing the same today with Nike's Alien shoes. In Gematria, Alien equals 41. 1941 was Pearl Harbor, and the construction of the Pentagon on 9/11, the same date as its destruction. That's not a coincidence for this NBA Finals. We have the exact same matchup as 1999. Spurs versus Knicks in New York. The Spurs had Duncan and Robinson. They were nicknamed the Twin Towers. Now they have Wembayama #1, who symbolizes the single tower, and it's his name equals in Gematria World Trade Center. The Knicks had Rick Brunson #9. This year his son wears #11. Completion of the 9/11 ritual. And Spielberg started the programming decades ago with E.T. We're taught to welcome the entity. Stay with me. With War of the Worlds, we're shown the end of humanity. Even the poster resembles the World Cup trophy, and now his new film releases exactly 6/16/26 in the start of the World Cup because sports and cinema tell the same story. The fall of the towers and the gradual replacement of humanity. Watch my 5-hour series. So this guy's right on top of it, right? That's like, when I saw that, that blew my mind, especially the part about Brunson's father was #9. And then, of course, what's Brunson's number for the next 9? His number is 11, which completes that 9/11 whole ritual thing that they did to us. Do you see what they're doing? And then the Knicks just won the NBA Finals. And by the way, the Knicks were up by 1, I think, at 11:11 last night. I noticed on my clock. So I looked at the clock last night. It was 11:11, and then all of a sudden the Knicks had taken, like, I think their first lead. It was like they were up by 1 point at 11:11. So it was all ones. Yeah, there's a whole there's a whole bunch of stuff behind that right there. Plus the fact that it took so long for the Knicks to get back there. Gosh. I got some notes that I've been taking. I mean, I've got I've been cleaning out some drawers, and I have like 3 whole notebooks full of notes I've taken over these 6 years. That's probably super valuable if it could be fed into some kind of computer and made sense of. It's just all my doodles and notes of different things that were happening over this time, and it's I had said I wanted to make a video like going through those all those books, but I realized it was going to take probably 6 or 7 hours worth of to get through it all. Trump insists Israel's Netanyahu won't have any choice in accepting Iran's peace deal after fresh strikes. I call the shots, he said. Opinion piece, New York Post. Nithya Raman overtakes Spencer Pratt, but watch out. It looks like they rigged that one again. That's what my intuition is telling me. It's pretty obvious. And you can't have an election day and make it last a week, right? We've been there before. Fury erupts over California's election after woke socialist candidate squeaks by Spencer Pratt in airtight race. Yep. Looks like to me the rig's in. Mormons outraged after Pentagon no longer counts LDS as Christian. Well, Latter-day Saints, right? Was that Christian? I don't know. You know, that I get confused with the Protestants and Catholics, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff to digest there. I think it's probably, unfortunately, all of it's kind of wrong. Like all religion, in a sense, is a sort of trying to control you. It's telling you a story that may or may not, parts of it may or may not be true, right? And usually that's how you sell a lie, right? Part of it has to be true, or else I won't buy it. And then the story gets changed, and it gets, stuff gets taken out, and books of the Bible get removed, and we never heard what the original story was. GOP probe in New Jersey finds hundreds of non-citizens on voter rolls. In Atlantic County alone, more than 50 non-citizens attested that they were unknowingly registered to vote. So you know it's more than that. It's way more than 50, right? Sure. That's just showing you that it's happening. Like I said, we never dealt with our voting problems. Now we have the midterms coming. You never got rid of the gem system, which is can turn your votes into a fraction. Fractional magic, it's called, right? But Bev Francis showed us that your votes can be turned into a fraction, and then a vote totals can be reallocated in however way you program in what you want, right? In other words, if they want Trump to only get 49%, that's all he'll ever get. If he gets more, his votes will be turned into fractions, and so they're not going to be one vote, one person anymore. It's going to be 10 votes, one person, right? 10 people voting is one vote. Israel strikes Iran after Tehran's missile attack. Iranian state TV said the Israeli attack forced the closure of airspace around Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport. Joe, Jill, and Hunter Biden go public, drawing attention to controversies Democrats hope to bury. Joe, Jill, and Hunter have all been in the public eye over the past few weeks. That's true. She's trying to sell a book. He's trying not to look so bad, Joe. And I don't know what Hunter's trying to do. He's saying that Trump looks like a clone, right? That's what I heard Hunter saying. Democrats want to move on from the 2024 election. So the Democratic Party has fully fractured at this point, right? And now you can see that there's more communistic forces that are massing on the far left, along with Bernie Sanders, AOC, those people, Mamdani. They got Mamdani in New York by cheating. Somehow they made it that only 2 million people voted in New York out of 8 million. The LA mayoral election is being stolen. How does the third place candidate win the majority of late arriving ballots? I wrote the rig is in. That was coming from Front Page Mag. Nate Friedman on X.com wrote, I exposed Kay Pritzker for being a paid protester. He stops my interview, has nothing to say, and has to go back and Google an argument. He works for Breakthrough News, which is funded by Neville Royce Singham, which just happens to share the same address as the People's Forum, his paid protesting office here in New York. So this guy's got paid protesters. He's found some of them now. They work for the Singham Network. These are people who go into the parades, and anybody that's sniffing around who's not the right news, they make sure that guy either gets beat up or forced out, like that young woman got beat up at one of those protests, right? Because she was covering it for a group that they don't like and they don't want there. Soros also funds Breakthrough News through the Progress Unity Fund. Singham and Soros are employing fake journalists to pose as protesters to sow division in the West. Yeah, they have to get into these people's money, is what I said before, right? The people running the Singham network, the FBI should be raiding these people's offices soon and saying and snatching up their documents and all their computers, because what you're doing is you're paying people to protest within the United States and cause damage and cause people to get hurt and cause people to become violent because you're paying them to do it. Here's Nick Shirley on X.com. Meet Doris. She lives in California and is registered as a 126-year-old who has voted in 51 elections and has no idea. California's voting system is so corrupt that by simply knocking on the door of the 126-year-old proves election fraud. So let's watch it, because he's right. Why doesn't anyone go to these people's house and say, hey, are you really 126? Can I see your freaking birth certificate? I'd like to see that. You were born when? 1880 something? What are you eating for breakfast and lunch every day? I want to know. Let's check this out. Here's Nick Shirley, X.com.
Inside the state of California. Well, this person who's eligible to vote here inside the United States, inside the state of California.
126 based on the Secretary of State.
And this is Doris.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna see if Doris is home. Are you Doris?
She's right here. Yes.
Hello, Doris.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
We're just going through the voting rolls here, and we're just confirming anybody who's above the age of 100 years old. And right here it says you're 126 years old.
No, you got the wrong house.
Are you Doris?
Yeah, but you got the wrong house. I'm Doris.
You got the wrong house, baby.
Place. That's the wrong information. All that stuff. No, that's wrong.
Oh, here, I can show you if you'd like.
No, it's just that it's wrong.
How come you think here in California they're just messing up on all these voting rolls here?
I don't know, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it says you voted in 51 elections, Doris.
No, not me.
Really?
I'm not no 100-some years old.
I know.
I said I wasn't.
I just want to make sure you're not 126 years old.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it really does say you're 126 years old here.
No.
Says,
Who gave this be 126? That don't even make sense.
I know, that's what the Secretary of State says.
Well,
She needs to call the Secretary of State's office and clean that up, right? Or what's been going on? Someone's been voting in her name for a long ass time. That was Nick Shirley's X.com. You can check them out. That's what real investigative journalism looks like, by the way. Actually getting into the street and doing some journalism, right? Talking to people, going to people's houses that are listed on the voter rolls and saying, "Hey, can I just ask you, are you 126? Because if you are, you're very well spoken and spry for 126. She sounded like she was pretty good, right?" How are you that mentally clear at 126? I think you wouldn't be able to barely speak. Expose it all. The California's voter rolls are all messed up, just like New York's voter rolls have a lot of people that are over 100 years old. Same thing. Here's Andy Knows Twitter, X.com. Los Angeles, June 6. Far left extremists outside a federal building in downtown surround and appear to pour gasoline on a pro-Trump man before he takes off running. Yeah, that was scary. They poured gas on this guy like they were going to light him on fire. Why has Trump not done anything about Antifa's infrastructure if they've already been labeled as a terrorist organization? Why isn't the FBI busting these people in different states and in mass droves? You're not seeing it, right? No. Are you seeing any mass arrests? No. Here's Dr. Malouf on X.com. New Yorkers voted for a radical socialist communist Muslim mayor from Africa who only obtained citizenship 7 years ago. Now they're complaining that the city is turning into an Islamic hell. It slowly is. I'm seeing more. I'm seeing more food carts in different areas where I've never seen them before, in my neighborhood as well. I'm assuming at some point there'll be one of these halal's food carts on every single corner. I don't know how they're selling enough of this slop to make a living, but they somehow are. I don't know. Even with gas being how expensive, what it's doing is polluting the city in a massive way. Because if you have one of these on every other block, then there's no clean air anywhere. And I'm not saying that New York usually doesn't have a lot. That's the problem. It's already polluted. So imagine adding on 11,000 more carts, so that these most of these illegal aliens who are here can do something, because it's not, to fork in a food cart is probably something that a lot of these guys can do, right? It doesn't take a lot of education to do it. You don't have need any special skills. You just got to learn how to make this shitty food that they make and that smells like shit, and that people apparently love to slop it up like it's going out of style for some reason. I don't know why, and pay exorbitant prices for it. Here's Matt Van Swal's X.com. Oh my gosh, a family festival in suburban Kansas City was overrun with teens who began beating police officers and unleashing bear spray. It wasn't teens, it was African American teens. That's all I saw. It wasn't white teens doing it. You're not seeing big groups of white teens go crazy in neighborhoods. Why is it only one group of people, children, doing this? Where are their parents and why is this happening, right? It's happening over and over. You're seeing these massive groups of like African American students just go completely nuts, right? Get together in large groups. How are they coordinating these meetups? That's what they got to figure out. And why is it happening? What are they doing? Just saying, hey, let's get together and just go fucking crazy. Let's do something. That we never used to do that. We used to get together with a bunch of friends, go play some basketball or some like touch football or something, right? Like, let's go do something. Let's play a game. We didn't usually get together and say, hey, let's fight each other and beat the shit out of each other. And just like, let's go trash a town. Let's get together and trash an entire shopping mall and just steal as much as we can. Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. It took 3 police agencies to get this crowd under control, and during a foot chase, officers recovered a 3D printed ghost gun off another juvenile. Only 2 teens were detained and then released. That's it? When you had hundreds of these people, that's all you... I mean, what is going on? You should have had hundreds of arrests. This is the 3rd year in a row teens have hijacked this festival. What is going on? Why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. Here's one time when we could all get together and have a good time, and these kids just say, nope, we're not going to do it. We're going to destroy it, the whole fucking thing. This doesn't make any sense. It's almost like someone's programming them to do it. Like, it's like they can affect large masses of people like that if they put certain skull to text on people, or who knows, right? It could be MK Ultra, it could be voice to skull tech, it could be using some of these like NextRad systems that can beam in different rays onto large groups of people and make them. I don't know what's causing them to do it, but something is making them do it. Some kind of maybe it's the 5G in the phones, like remember in that movie where like the phone starts emanating that tone that Samuel L. Jackson satellite is making this tone come out of the phones that makes everybody just kill each other and beat each other up and try to kill each other, right? And then when they shut that off, it stops, right? Secretary Wright companies to add 40 million barrels to U.S. oil reserve at war's end. Well, we need a lot more than that. You've almost depleted it more than half, I think. Trump considers buying the Chagos Islands. How does he think that's going to work? You think that Iran's going to sell that to you? They're not going to sell it to you. You don't have enough money to buy all this stuff. We're already broke. Why aren't we admitting that we don't have any money? Trump's not doing any of this stuff that he's supposed to be doing. He's not giving us free energy. He's not giving us the med beds. Then he releases something where it looks like he's talking to some Pleiadian guys, right? Because there's like 6'8" with long blonde hair. That's obviously fake. I mean, come on already. What are you doing? Stop fucking around, dude. What are you freaking people doing? You're messing around with people's lives and well-being. And the other thing that keeps bugging me is that, if there are extraterrestrials here, and you got to help us a little bit more. We're getting screwed over here. What are you doing? Just watching us destroy ourselves and just, hey, let's kick back and watch this movie. What is it called? It's destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Remember that song? Self-destruction. That's what we're doing. Now Mamdani's hit with furious backlash about his Knicks tickets after revealing eyebrow-raising cost of his NBA Finals ticket. He's saying he only paid $1,000 for a standing room only ticket. No way he got this for $1,000. He got some kind of preferential treatment, I'm assuming, to get that. And then what did he do? He went and sat in the FIFA World Cup guy's box for free. So he sat with Hochul and got a free ticket to the FIFA World Cup ticket too. He got to sit in somebody's box for free, the owner's box or whatever. Claims he bought the ticket from Madison Square Garden's site. I think not. Cheapest ticket I could find was $4,000, but this was a special site somewhere within there where you could buy it directly, and maybe he did. I don't know. Trump slams rigged California election as Spencer Pratt falls behind liberal candidate. Yeah. Well, you didn't fix the election process. Like we said, you never did anything in your first 4 years to overhaul it in any way. You didn't even get rid of the gem system, so what do you expect's going to happen? You think they're going to run an honest election and let Pratt in? Mamdani admits to dropping 4 figures on a Knicks standing room ticket when pressed by reporters. Let's see the receipt. How much did you pay? Opinion. New York lawmakers refuse to get ticking time bombs off the streets. Yeah, well, they've let a lot of sick people out of institutions and they've hurt and killed people, right? Like that old guy that got shoved down the stairs. Literally 1 hour after the guy's released from a psychiatric facility, he's murdered somebody. 1 hour later. Nate Friedman, I exposed how they pay protesters in New York. Yeah, we're figuring out these networks, the Singham Network, Soros, other groups that formed, that never got touched, that nobody ever looked into, whose funding was never questioned or looked into by any major group like the DOJ or the FBI. And that should be happening, because groups like this that are destabilizing the country on purpose, that are paying to do it, they should be, some of these people should be charged with crimes, in my opinion. Iran says it stood down against Israel after Donald Trump's appeal. all North American synagogues to be raided by police as KM leaders try to flee. That's what Benjamin Fulford was saying. I don't know if that's true. He's reporting a lot of disinformation. I haven't seen any synagogues in the Northeast raided or heard of such. So, should that happen? I don't know. I'm assuming if you're going to do that, you should also raid churches then too, right? Some churches maybe, or is it only happening at synagogues? You're saying, guys, I'm going to need to take a break pretty soon. Ex-CIA officer who pilfered $40 million in gold bars exploited a loophole meant to protect top secret operations. Trump's return to New York City for historic NBA Finals game takes dramatic turn. That didn't help us. That Trump coming to that game hurt us for some reason. It changed the mojo. And then Ari at home got a little issue, right? People were like, "Hey, you showed up for the first Knicks game and we won, and then the second one, but then the third one you didn't do a show and we lost." So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do one for show for game 5 and we won." So actually, I think he was kind of a good luck charm. We had a lot of good luck charms in that season. That was a long season. We almost did the impossible. If we had won that other game, we would have swept every team throughout the whole playoffs, and nobody's ever done that in the history of basketball. So, congrats to the New York Knicks. But I think I'm starting to see the way that this whole thing was set up, and it's kind of disturbing with the Jalen Brunson, especially with Jalen Brunson and his dad. Judge blocks $100K H-1B visa fee imposed by Trump, so he's blocking everything Trump has done has been blocked by judges. They even removed his name off the Kennedy Center again after he put it on there. Spencer Pratt loses the LA mayor's race again, as we saw. Trump scolds Netanyahu in testy phone call. You could be left alone against Iran very soon. That's what's going to happen. That's what you should do. If you're the real Trump, but it doesn't seem like you are, because it seems like you're controlled by Israel. I wrote that a few days ago, I noticed that the Knicks won both the games against the Spurs with the same score of 105 points. Which is interesting, right? With the whole numerology thing. I'm not a numerologist. I don't get into the whole gematria, but gematria is something that's real. There's codes within the Bible. There's codes within the Torah, that have predicted future events like 9/11 and other things. California allows voters to register with a gym card, insurance card, employer ID, none of which verify identity or citizenship. Right. How can you do that? That doesn't tell me if you're a citizen of the state or the country. It just shows that you have a gym membership there. Knicks fans clashed with cops in chaotic scene outside Bryant Park Game 3. That's why these watch parties are stupid. They shouldn't allow them. You're getting large groups of people together, letting them get high and drunk, and then, only bad stuff can happen when that goes down. Like in Midtown last night, they did burn a school bus and set it on fire or something stupid like that. Luckily, not too many people were hurt or I don't think anybody got seriously injured, thank goodness. At least we didn't rip the whole city apart and do more damage like I've seen other cities have much more damage. So at least I think not that we comported ourselves perfectly, or handled it perfectly, but at least we didn't rip our whole city apart like some other places do and set fires and loot and stuff like that. NBA fans outraged. DJ Khaled spends insanely expensive Knicks Spurs game on his phone. Yeah, this guy's like in the front row, probably spent like $100,000 on the ticket or more, or maybe around that. And to him, that's nothing, right? He's on his phone half the game, doesn't even care. He's not a real Knicks fan. A real Knicks fan would have put your phone away. Ex-Epstein assistant Leslie Groff needed a 2-person escort to face grilling before the house. So, I'm thinking back about Epstein and this stuff, and then you're thinking like that you start to realize that did you know that like the Nobel Prize used to keep like the DNA of all the winners of like the smartest guys? Yeah, there used to be like a special sperm bank of all the smartest dudes. Isn't that what like Epstein was trying to do? Kind of the same thing. Was he trying to revive that back again? Get a bunch of guys like a Gates and who you think are super smart but really aren't. Plans for a huge man camp for thousands of data center construction workers enrage Wyoming locals. Well, if you have a huge man camp for construction, that sort of brings its own problems, right? Sometimes that brings prostitution, sometimes that brings drugs, right? Sometimes that brings violence, fights, alcohol. Guys got to unwind. They're working hard all week. They got nowhere to spend their money, really. What they're going to do? They're going to head to the nearest town and let out some steam. Probably a few guys are, right? Go into town, maybe get into something, get into some trouble, whatever, right? Go out. Trump vows to retaliate against Iran after revealing US AH-64 Apache helicopter was shot down over the Straits of Hormuz, not the gaze of Hormuz. So I had an observation the other day, and then I'll go to break. Take a quick break after this. I was starting to, I keep thinking, how do we win? How do we win? And I had, I'd thought about the Matrix for many years because I had realized that it exists. But the question is then, how do you not feed it? And then B, how do you escape it? Right. And what I realized about the Matrix, about the system that we're in, it's a system that's set up to create where uh, you have all these different avenues that create outrage, anger in the news cycle, in magazines, and on X.com, on people just saying stupid shit, people arguing, people coming online and saying, people who are pundits who are saying inflammatory things about certain groups, etc., ad infinitum. Right? You can find 100 different people doing it online. My point is, when we observe without judgment or anger, when we see news or events that are done to anger us, we have a conscious decision how we react to those events, right? Do we react in anger and feed the beast, the matrix, our loosh, our anger? Do we feed that to the system and continue to fuel it? Or do we understand what the matrix needs to fuel itself, and that once we begin to observe without judgment, which doesn't mean we can't be upset a little bit at the state of the world, right? We can see the world and say to ourselves, wow, this is really fucked up. This is not going well. We're not where we want to be, right? We're polluting our oceans and our atmosphere, and we're killing off animal species. We're killing each other. We're violent towards each other. We can't seem to come together as beneath our humanity. We're constantly having groups that are trying to keep us apart and keep us angry, right? If we can find a way to observe without judgment, therefore starving the system of fuel, each person has to come to their own choice in that, right? In other words, are you going to stop consuming all this news or can you consume the news and see it for what it is and keep it in its place and not let it enrage and anger you? And you could observe without judgment what it's doing, the propaganda that is put onto the populace, and not judge it, uh, and just understand it, right? And see it for what it is and not judge it at all, and just see it for what it is being there in the world, and that it has a place. And that once you understand what it is, how it works, how it's used, you can short circuit it in a sense, because you won't let these stories enrage you so much. And I've for a long time thought that I might stop doing this, because am I just feeding that beast in a sense, or am I trying to dissect it, show you how it works, open up the mechanism of it, right? The matrix, and look inside from outside and see how it works, and then say, oh, okay, now I get how this engine's fueled. It's not fueled with gasoline. It's fueled with human rage. It's fueled with outrage, with anger, with sadness, with consternation, with different emotional states like that. But the one thing that doesn't feed it is love. The one thing that doesn't feed it is understanding. The one thing that doesn't feed it is acceptance, right? So if we can come together as one and understand that a system has been put in place to cause us to become angry, to harvest our anger, and to keep us apart by all means, so that we will not ascend as a human species, that's part of what's going on here, right? So if we can observe without judgment and love each other and vibrate at a higher level each day, and understand that a system is in place to keep our vibration down, we can do the opposite and defeat that system when enough of us vibrate at a higher level, right? So, friends, I'm going to take this break. I'm about an hour and 14 minutes in. I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. I got to get some more coffee. I got some notes here. We're going to try to put some stuff together from years ago that happened, and it's now all coming back around, right? Like things do. Things usually have a way of being cyclical, and they come back around again. Right? Like, hey, bell bottoms are back, baby. All right, I hope you're doing well. I'm going to go get this coffee. In the meantime, you could take a quick break, do some push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, friends, for that break. I appreciate you. So the way we win is with observing without judgment, not letting our anger get the best of us. Then the matrix has nothing to feed off of. That's what was happening with me. I couldn't get what was going on at first. Why are all these weird ass things happening? Why is construction crews showing up outside where I live at 2 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night and drill until 2 in the morning? Why are all this weird shit going on? It's because the matrix it's got to get its piece out of you, right? That's why. And if you're not living up to what, you're not putting out enough negative, they're going to do more stuff to you, engineer more things to screw up your life until you are. Like maybe your business deal will not go through, and your girlfriend will dump you via text. You'll get sick. All this bad shit will start happening, and it'll break your ass down, right? You can't figure out what the fuck's going on, but your life just starts to fall apart in pieces until there's nothing left. That's what happened to me. So if that happens, you just get back up and rebuild it again, right? That's all you really can do. But you don't know at the time that maybe there's a system in place that's fucking me on purpose. Maybe some people aren't made to make it, right? Maybe some people in this matrix are here to suffer. That's what I used to feel. Like, what am I here? Just to suffer? All I do is suffer in this place. I never have anything good happen to me. Why not? Right? Why do good things happen? Bad things happen to good people, like they say, right? Israel orders Lebanese city of Tyre to evacuate, ignores Iran warning. Sharing some different music from different musicians I like. House expected to vote on ICBP funding package. I thought they did fund ICE eventually in the end. They had to fund it, but they didn't want to fund ICE the whole time, right? ICC's Kareem Khan suspended for alleged sexual misconduct. Jailed crypto tycoon Sam Bankman-Fried, or Sam Bankman-Fraud, applies for pardon. That could be another person that Trump might pardon because he's got a lot of money. He had a lot of money. He was the kid that was buying up real estate like it was going out of style, right? He's trying to make that currency that he has real. So he starts to buy, what did he buy? $120 million worth of real estate? Something like that. Had his parents involved. IRS data unreliable in ICE immigration efforts, Inspector General says. What IRS data? On illegal aliens? Senator Schiff introduces a bill to restrict Defense Department's use of AI. That's actually a good idea. But aren't they already using some form of AI? I don't know how much of AI they're using. I'm assuming they are. I haven't had any interactions with any AI yet. Like, I haven't used like a chat GPT ever. I haven't used, I don't know what any of the other, whatever they are, right? I just choose not to talk to AI. I don't want it to see my face for sure. I don't want it to know me at all. Why? Well, because it's harder for it to build a profile about me then. I don't want to be. What you don't want is to have the system have a pattern established on you. Like, this is what this guy likes to do. This is how he operates. This is where he goes. This is how he operates in the world. This is who he talks to. The Peru presidential race is too close to call. It's an exceptionally tight race between right-wing candidate Keiko Fujimori of the Popular Force Party and Roberto Sanchez of leftist coalition Together for Peru. So it sounds like you have like a right-wing, more like sort of maybe, I don't know, a capitalistic type of a person. But this woman she's Japanese. Fujimori is her last name. I don't understand. Is she a Peruvian citizen of Japanese origin who grew up in Peru, I'm assuming? That's kind of rare, right? A Japanese Peruvian? That's super rare. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I guess she's allowed to run for the Peruvian presidency. She must be a citizen of the country, I'm assuming. Carmelo Anthony's sobbing mother pleads with jurors to show mercy for her son as they prepare to sentence him. So he got 35 years, which I thought was a good sentence. But he could be out in as little as 17 if he on good behavior. They could cut your sentence in half. 17 years for murdering this kid in cold blood, premeditating the fact that you brought a weapon to the. I don't know. Some states that's a death penalty. Trump makes decision on attending the Knicks Spurs game. He went to the game and we lost. Diddy sued over alleged sexual assault by male former child actor. So another person suing. I saw a really disturbing video from. It's an old Justin Bieber video. I saw it on Instagram on a conspiracy website. I don't know if I uh, if I brought the link over to here to share it or not. But what he was basically, it was an interview with a young Justin Bieber. He's got to be under, 13, 14 years old. And he's talking about how he meets Usher, and apparently Usher got into his was in his YouTube, DM'd him on YouTube, and he just ignored him. But then apparently he says that somebody in Usher's camp or Usher himself went into his YouTube video, saw one of his videos that he'd made, and somehow figured out where he lived by that video and got his address and like either came to the house at some point or something like that. And even Bieber in the video is even saying it was super creepy. So these people stalked this kid. They got into his DMs on YouTube. He didn't respond because his mother was in control of the account. Missed that DM. And then he's talking to Usher apparently back and forth when he shouldn't have been. And then Usher figured out where he lived and then got closer to him that way. Or got Diddy closer to him. So that was if I find that video again, I'll share it in today's show's comment sections. Always come back to the Rumble if you can, because I'm constantly posting more articles as they come out, which are going to be used in the next show, which is also like an aggregator. So you can come back to the show and look at newest postings, and you'll see what the newest articles I've been uploading that day. So I think Carmelo Anthony should have got at least life for that, because it's not like you really weren't defending yourself. You instigated the whole thing, and you brought a knife to a track meet where it appeared you were looking to instigate something. Epstein's assistant tells Congress she knew nothing about his crimes. That's hard to believe. Austin Metcalf's twin brother delivers stinging 6-word rebuke to Carmelo Anthony. I wrote 35 years isn't enough. He could be out in 17. Smirking Bill Gates arrives on Capitol Hill as he faces reckoning in Jeffrey Epstein probe. I wrote, grill this fucker. They did kind of grill him, right? He's being publicly shamed right now, but is that good enough? I don't know. NBA does not upgrade Victor Wembanyama's shove of Jalen Brunson to a flagrant foul. So he pushed Brunson in the back of the head in one game. That was flagrant. But the other thing that most people missed was that in one of the games, and Wembanyama lunged it on Anunoby's leg, like to try to kick him in the side of his knee and break his leg or hurt his knee. And he just missed with that size, 18 foot. But it was obviously caught on film, and there was a lot of things that the referees didn't catch in these. You could say you're letting them play, but there was a lot of stuff. But the other thing is, could the whole thing have been rigged? Well, how can you rig it down to 1 point? I guess you could, but you'd have to have literally every game mapped out. Like, okay, you're going to go up here now and you're going to miss. Okay, you're going to go up here now and make it. And it's hard to do that because it's easy to miss, but it's hard to say, okay, you're going to make this 3 on command, right? No, it has to flow. It has to just be in the flow of the game. So could they possibly be rigging every single thing? Possibly, but they're doing other things with the numerology, like with the jersey numbers, right? With like Wembanyama being number 41, and he scored 41 points in the game. No, Wembanyama being jersey number 1, And the whole thing with Jalen Brunson and his father, that's weird. Trump administration updates. House oversight to question Alan Dershowitz about dead pervert Jeffrey Epstein. I think Epstein's not dead. Because with these masks, they can just put a fake mask on you and make you look like anybody now. How CIA officer David Rush, caught with $40 million in gold bars, engineered the most significant financial crime in the agency's history. We don't know that, though. There could be other people that had more money stolen, even. Weren't there other CIA safes in many other locations? Sure. The CIA has a safe in every safe house they have, pretty much. They have all safes all over the place to store fake IDs, to store money, to store other stuff, weapons. If it's a safe house, that'll have all those things in there: weapons, money, cash, fake passports, fake documents. James Comer tells Pod Force One Ilhan Omar is in a lot of trouble amid a fraud crackdown. Let's see. Why aren't these people getting touched? I can't understand it. Why isn't AOC getting touched? President Trump is readying new strikes on Iranian power plants. Now he's saying no, they stopped. He was going to blow up their power then soon, I think, would be the next thing. Should have hit their power first thing. Another New York City carriage horse has unfortunately collapsed and died in Central Park. Yeah, it's 93 degrees. You got a fucking old horse out there fucking dying in the heat. I'm not a fan of the horse and carriages, sorry. I think it's antiquated. You have these mechanical horses. You could create one and put one of those and make it fucking pull the thing down. Let these poor horses retire in some kind of peace in their last years of their life. I mean, these animals are not always taken the best care of. I've seen some of the stables where they're kept and not exactly, pristine, let's just say. I think, and plus it's very stressful for a horse to be in traffic in New York. Well, these guys you don't understand. They're not just going around in Central Park. They got to take the horse up there from the stables, which are on like 9th Avenue, and the horse has to go through traffic to get to the stable and back to Central Park. Skeletal remains of Los Alamos missing scientist Melissa Casillas could indicate suicide or murder. It's just funny that you'd go all the way to this weird, out-of-the-way place and then blow your brains out there. It doesn't kind of make any sense, really, but, some of these people could be being mind-controlled. Some of these people could be having voice-to-skull tech used on them. I don't know. You don't know what's being done to people. You don't know what their daily life's like. I just felt like I was attacked yesterday. I woke up around 6:30 in the morning and like sweating and just, I don't know, like I was almost like a panic attack, but my pulse wasn't racing. I don't know what was happening. I tried to use my breathing, but it was just, I was so disoriented from the whole thing. It was just like, am I being psychically attacked? Am I being like voice to skull? What's going on? Like, why am I profusely sweating like this? Why am I feeling like I'm going to throw up? And then it finally subsided after a little while. I used my breathing techniques. I splashed some water on my face, but it took quite a while to go away. And it was upsetting because I didn't know where I was coming from. Baby cured of rare epilepsy syndrome after doctors inject missing gene directly into his brain. So they're now injecting genes directly into people's brain, and it's apparently working and helping to stop. That's unbelievable. Stunned court TV panelist looks shell-shocked by Carmelo Anthony murder conviction and says, looks like we're going to have a problem. Like, these people thought he was going to get off with self-defense. But when all the witnesses came forward, nobody backed up his side of the story, right? That he was, in fear of his life and he was being attacked by this kid. He instigated the entire event, it appears. And then stabbed the kid in the chest and tried to hide the knife in the stands and run away. First, then 3 days ago, Trump said the Iran peace deal was off. Now it's back on. Then it was off. Now it's back on. 24 Latino lawmakers come together to slam Colombian President Gustavo Petro's Hail Hitler tweet. So the Colombian, I don't know why you would come out and do that. It seems a little odd, but all right. You're down with Hitler? Great. You're not with the majority of humanity, but okay. Belfast stabbing victim lost eye during attempted beheading. A Sudanese suspect is ID'd. This was the guy that tried to cut this guy's head off. For a country that doesn't have any, that knives are supposed to be illegal to carry, there's a whole bunch of people have a lot of knives over there. Netanyahu says he'll stand for re-election despite Trump's doubts and corruption charges. So if this isn't the real Netanyahu, they're trying to make the fake one get re-elected again. We'll see. Is anybody able to just put Netanyahu out? It doesn't appear so. It doesn't appear to be the way that their political system is set up. It's too scattered to actually get a. It's almost impossible to get someone like him out in the way it's currently structured. And is he even still alive? Belfast attack sparks international outrage with demands for immediate deportations. Yeah, these people want these people gone like now, yesterday. They're preying on your kids, right? Some of these guys, they're violent. And it's almost like they program them to come over and then they flip a switch and say, yeah, start stabbing people like for no reason. Some of these migrants are violent, right? There's no question. Ireland's not having it anymore. And when they decide that they don't want it, it's going to get nasty. Because the Irish are tough. They'll fight you. Some of the best boxers in the past have come out of Ireland, right? Very tough people. Very tough. Like New Yorkers, very strong, tough. Original New Yorkers, very strong, tough. Not like the people here now. They're not real New Yorkers, most of them. The majority of the people here are not natives anymore. They're far from it. That's why you got a guy like Mamdani that got elected 25, 30 years ago. Mamdani wouldn't have had a chance here. New York approves new World Cup drinking law with bars set to stay open later than ever during the tournament. So you want people more drunk, more violent after the tournament's ending, right? You want them to do more violence, and this doesn't make any sense. Most New York bars are open till 4 a.m., so that's different from states like Florida. A lot of Florida bars, I don't know about every jurisdiction, but in a lot of parts of Florida, the bars close at 2, which kind of sucks. But of course, there are some after-hours clubs you can find if you figure out where they are. Back to the Future star Crispin Glover denies ex's claim he turned her into a sex slave. So Crispin Glover was another one of those people that kind of got a little out there, like was like in Hollywood for a while, then like sort of got away from it, right? Tried to get away from it. Bolivian protesters threaten actions near military bases. Epstein's assistant tells Congress she knew nothing about his crimes. I think I doubled that up. House votes to advance ICE and CBP funding. Carmelo Anthony's $625,000 crowdfunding page was yanked by GoSendGo after murder conviction. Oh, but before it was okay. Right. MSG dismantles Mamdani claiming credit for Knicks watch party. Blast police stage street lockdown. So there's going to be a parade for the Knicks this Thursday in New York, in Manhattan. I think in the Canyon of Heroes, they call it, downtown on Broadway. Draymond Green slams Knicks for not standing up for Jalen Brunson after Wemby push. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't. Usually the old Knicks, if you did that to the star guard, like if they did that to Starks back in the day, you would have had to deal with you, and the next time you got the ball, you're going to get hard fouled for sure. And I mean hard fouled. We didn't used to play. What I did like about the way we played was our defense was better, but they missed a lot of shots the first quarter just like we did. That was a horrible first half for both teams. It was almost like they were told, hey, just miss a lot, right? We don't want this thing going over 100 points. The first quarter, I think at the end, the Knicks only had maybe like 18 points or 20 points. It was like insane. MSG cancels Knicks watch party. Couldn't do it. Too many people out there. U.S. launches new strikes on multiple targets in Iran. So we did hit Iran, and then all of a sudden they said, okay, well, let's do the peace thing. We don't know who he's even talking to. It's ridiculous at this point. And now the Ukraine war has gone on longer than World War II. CIA's bombshell ties to UFOs and alien tech revealed in exposed documents. I'm assuming at some point, some of these aliens were working with some of our groups, right? That's what some people were saying, and that they allowed a certain amount of human beings in exchange for tech from the aliens to be abducted each year for use in either biological programs, DNA swaps, hybridization, eating of human beings, etc. Because the Greys, I've heard, are the ones that do a lot of DNA stuff. The Draco want to eat humans and harvest their loosh. I'm assuming the mantids also want to just eat humans. Just like a big praying mantis, it would slice and dice your ass up, right? Skid Row residents were paid to vote in LA mayor's race, report says. Several residents allege they received $2 to $5 payments in exchange for casting ballots for who they were told to vote for. Sure, if you're on the street, $5 and get you some crack. You can get a hit of crack for $3 usually, so that's almost, you might get 2 for $5. If you know the dealer, you might get 2 for $5, baby. Yo, let me get 2 rocks for $5, baby. I got the whole afternoon to chill now. Maybe you gave me a cigarette too. It's worth it for me to give you that vote. I don't care who I'm voting for. I'll vote for Genghis fucking Khan if I can get a couple of hits of crack rock. That's fact. If you're an addict, right? You'll vote for Genghis fucking Khan for 2 hits of crack rock and a cigarette. Hell yeah. Now times that out by 20 guys on the street in different parts of the Tenderloin doing it. You got a manufacturing vote machine, and you're using the homeless to do it. And it's cheap. Racist anti-ICE agitators cheer Hispanic DHS employees leaving New Jersey Delaney Hall because they thought they were detainees. As the 2 Hispanic men walked out, demonstrators began cheering and applauding before a person yelled, quote, "They work here, dumbass." These aren't the brightest bulbs in the batch, right? They work there, you freaking moron. They're not getting released. Colombian president faces suspension order amid election probe. So there's all kinds of different Central and South American countries. Leaders are getting in trouble, like finally, right? Because these are all countries who've had, let's just say, not the most honest elections in the past 50 to 65 years, 75 years. Secret World War II chemical experiments tested troops by race. I just wanted to show you that the American military was doing different, research on different people who were soldiers at the time, sometimes without those soldiers' knowledge, right? Like the Tuskegee experiment and stuff like that, where they were giving, what was it, syphilis, I think, to these guys. Some of these men were given syphilis and they weren't told. Tuskegee experiment, right? Look that up. Where African American males were Tuskegee. This is all stuff they try to bury, of course. Here, the Tuskegee syphilis study, 1932 to 1972. You're talking about this thing went on for 40 years. 40 years. CDC, right? About the untreated syphilis study at Tuskegee. I mean, they were doing this a long, long time. The U.S. Public Health Service untreated syphilis study at Tuskegee was a study conducted between 1932 and 1972. Right? And then when they originally started this, I believe they weren't telling people exactly what they were getting exposed to, right? They just said, hey, you're going to be a part of an experiment. Are you all right with this? Yeah, okay. You getting paid for it or not? Maybe, we don't know. And next thing you know, you got sores all over your freaking body and stuff's developed on your skin that you never saw before. And you're like, what happened to what's going on? Well, we gave you syphilis. Sorry. Just didn't tell you about it. Sorry about that. Whoops. Knicks fans throw object at Victor Wembanyama outside Spurs hotel. Yeah, it got ugly, man. This guy is not, let's just say we're not big fans of this guy in New York City. We don't like the way he played. He plays dirty. And, we can play that way, but, when you try to kick the side of somebody's leg out and break their leg and break their kneecap in half, that's something that could literally cripple you for life. If he had kicked him the right way with that much force, you could have broke his leg. And then what would you say? Oh, whoops, it was an accident? No, he lunged at him on purpose. He's one of our star players. And if you think about it, that was the game, I think, where he won the game for us, I think, or the game before it. So let's say he does do that and it works and he manages either to break Anunoby's leg or hurt or dislocate his knee or something where he can't play. We lose that game. Opinion: race hustlers are trying to make Carmelo Anthony a victim rather than the murderer that he is. I agree with that 100%, and it's disgusting to watch. It's disgusting to watch because it's race baiting 101. It's agitprop 101, race baiting. Put that one right under race baiting, right? How to start a race war. Have a black guy stab a white kid in the chest and kill him. Should have done it the other way, right? That it would have worked even better if he did it the other way and then start raising money for the white kid. Maybe his family's from like a really southern town where there's not many black people. Maybe his dad's in the KKK. That would have been perfect. Don't give these crazy fuckers any ideas, right? But you can see that, I mean, how do they get somebody to do that? I don't even understand. It'd have to be mind control. Trump nixed Mamdani's planned meeting with leftist Colombia prez who tweeted Hail Hitler. So, Heil Hitler. Sorry. I don't like saying that. So how Trump told Mamdani not to go meet that guy? I'm surprised that Mamdani listened to Trump. It probably doesn't look too good for your re-election campaign, right? If you're already pissed off all the Jews in New York, if you want to piss them off even more, probably not. Mamdani admitted rocked by claims of rigged investigation into New York City schools Chancellor Kamar Samuels. It looks like this guy's guilty of, at the least, some pay for play type stuff where he, steered something and helped something along, whatever it was, right? That's what all these people end up doing. A lot of times in these, not always, but in some positions of power, they use their position of power, like Mayor Adams did, right, to help the Turkish embassy get built faster. He let them cut the process, let the fire department, sign off on it quick, or they didn't bother with the fire department. Police blast water cannons at Belfast protesters as unrest flares again after stabbing. I wrote, it's never a good idea to anger an Irishman or Irishwoman. No, don't anger them. Knicks rallied 2 days ago from 29 down. That was the biggest comeback in an NBA Finals history. That just proves it's really never over till it's over. Or was it rigged? I don't know how you could rig them coming back. You just have to miss a lot of shots after that period, right? It's possible. And yeah, you can miss shots easy, right? If you tell everybody just keep missing, let them come back, I guess. But they still have to make the shots to come back, right? I mean, so much has to happen for what you're trying to say is happening is happening. I think there's more to do with the numerology of certain things about it. Because you'd have to have so many players like obviously Jalen Brunson wasn't fucking having nobody tell him nothing. He went off for 46. But you could make a point that when somebody get to maybe Anthony Michael Towns, who I think late in the third quarter had like 2 points. He did absolutely zero in terms of scoring. Had some rebounds, but I'm talking went from hero to zero real fast. A point could be made that, but was he just not having a good night? And neither were a bunch of other guys. And, Brunson said, I'm taking this whole thing on my back and we're going to ride off into the sunset together. But would that have something to do with his dad and the 9/11? That whole thing is bothering me a lot. Senator Rand Paul releases timeline of Dr. Fauci's extensive contacts with Intel community. Follow the science or follow the spies. Fauci's involvement with the Intel community dates back more than 2 decades. Oh yeah, it goes all the way back to when he was trying to tell people, hey, take AZT. It's good for AIDS. It'll help you. All these poor AIDS patients who were, whose immune systems were massively compromised were taking basically an anti-cancer drug that was so toxic the use of it had been stopped because it was killing people by how toxic it was. But hey, it gives some short-term good effects against HIV or AIDS. We'll use it. Fauci was the one pushing that. He's the one that should be investigated. New York Knicks fans waving Palestinian flags, seen smashing yellow cab after historic comeback. That's the kind of stuff I don't want to see. That's not really New Yorkers doing that. That's somebody paid to come in and do it. That's not real New Yorkers doing that. Real New Yorkers never would destroy their own city. They would never do that. They would maybe be in the street getting loud, doing maybe something like that. Maybe some fights happen, but no, not really. It should just be pretty, just good vibes. That's what I saw in the street last night from my window when I was leaning out watching people at the bars listening. I didn't hear anger. I didn't see people getting angry, smashing things. I saw people just in the streets getting happy, going Knicks, let's go Knicks, let's go Knicks. Opinion, Mamdani's only making his Puerto Rican date debacle worse. Well, he canceled some lunch that they have before the parade or something. He doesn't know how to handle groups of people. House fails to extend the surveillance powers amid standoff over DNI appointment. Democrat lawmakers are sought to use Section 702 as leverage against the Trump administration, while some Republicans have opposed the measure for other reasons. So they got rid of that program that they exploited to spy on Trump. Families outrage after dead loved ones in Los Angeles receive primary election ballots. So you're not off the rolls. Even if you die, you're not always off the rolls. Islamic activist Linda Sarsour aids House contender linked to blind Sheikh and Al Qaeda front. This one is for you, Gaza, quote unquote. Infamous Islamic activist Linda Sarsour helped Zohran Mamdani in his rise to New York City's mayoralty. Now she's helped Democrat Dr. Adam Hamawi, another controversial Muslim American, this time in a quest to join Congress. So they're pushing more and more Muslims into our political process. It's a big problem because I don't trust some of these people. You can't have somebody who just got their American citizenship like 6 or 7 years ago now be the mayor of the city of New York. That shouldn't be possible. I don't think. I think it should be like the president. You should have to be native born to here. Sorry. That's what I think. Same thing for Congress, same thing for the Senate. That avoids these kinds of people coming in and destabilizing your government who might be an agent of another foreign country, whose loyalty is to that country, not yours. UK Defense Secretary Healey resigned, citing budget cuts. So the UK Defense Secretary just stepped down. Healey further asserted that Starmer's budgetary plans fell well short of what was needed to restore the UK's defense and that he was left with no other option but to resign. Pentagon lockdown over hazardous materials incident could be a false alarm. I think it was. Ended up being some smell or some funky smell. How come they never showed the footage of the missile hitting the Pentagon that wasn't a plane, right? Because we know it wasn't a plane now, right? Because professional pilots have said, I studied the flight plan of that plane that you said flew like that. You can't do that with that plane. Sorry. That guy, whoever was flying it, there's no way he could have done it. Only a very highly experienced pilot with that plane could even attempt to do what he did, which is a series of maneuvers at low altitude, right? Flying very low over metropolitan areas, sometimes like right over on top of roads, right? That's super hard to do with a big plane and keep control of it, unless you're a very experienced pilot. So the odds were that it was a missile. I'm assuming a missile was what hit the trade centers as well. Although I did see the second plane, or what would look like the second plane. I didn't see the first plane hit. Trump Health Mystery deepens his army of doctors checking the president. He's saying his 80th birthday. He's clear, but I mean, what clone are we on? 5? Is the real Trump still in the mountain? You're not talking about that. The fake pundits on the 107 fake pundits who are getting together, by the way, to have another conference that's $350 a head. That's how much these guys are making off this next one. $350 a head just to go see these guys talk. Oh, and you get a free steak dinner. Great. To listen to these guys tell you some more lies and bullshit. Marjorie Taylor Greene claims Trump admitted that his friends would get hurt if full Epstein files were released. Oh, I'm sure a bunch of people he knows are going to get hurt, including himself. He's in there a lot, right? And you could say he's not, but I mean, if 2 of the people in there are saying that he abused them sexually, right? Guantanamo Bay's remaining 15 prisoners should be executed, Pete Hegseth declares. So he just confirmed there's only 15 people in Gitmo. It's not filled with politicians. It's not filled with bad people. It's not filled with 100,000 people that were served. Remember when they said there's hundreds of thousands of warrants that are going to supposedly being served? Well, if they were, then you'd be seeing all kinds of people, huge amounts of arrests, like every week. You're not seeing that. It's funny in El Salvador, the way they put these guys in these big prisons like that. I'm surprised they didn't just put these guys all to death. It would have been a lot cheaper. Put them all in a death sentence. Crimes against the country. And then keep maybe like a third of them in the jail instead of all those guys. I mean, it's insane. And these guys, not to say that they should have a lot of rights, but these guys don't get to have any reading materials. No music, no television. They don't get to write to anybody. They can't read books. They just all day, you just are in that cell pretty much all day. No bedding, big cells. I mean, if that's how I'm being kept, I'd rather you probably just shoot me. There's no life there. You have nothing to look forward to. You can't exercise. You can't really do anything. Man 21 accused of running OnlyFans content house is charged with human trafficking. Well, it could be if you're forcing the people in the house to do it. And you're pretty young to have your own house. It's one thing if the people are there willingly to do it, like these girls did that. A bunch of girls in the United States were living in some house that someone had, and they were all putting out content, and I'm assuming splitting part of the content with whoever owned the house and making all kinds of money, right? That's one thing. But if you're forcing people to do it, like if you're like the Tate brothers and you have some kind of warehouse space where you have women doing online stuff and maybe they can come and go as they want and maybe they can't, that's another story. We've heard of things happening like that. And I'm not saying that that's what the Tate brothers are doing, but that's what some people allege that they were doing in Romania, right? Feds uncover unspeakable horrors as 150,000 kids lost under Biden are located. Where were they located exactly? Like with foster families or somewhere else? Where's the other 300,000? Where is that story? I can't find it. They took Trump's name off the Kennedy Center again? Oh, I can't find it. Sorry, guys. Border agencies, dozens of counterfeit watches, sunglasses, potentially worth up to 20 million. So this fake Rolex is same as they've always had. Why can't they stop the fake Rolex business that's been going on Canal Street for the last 25, 30 years? Why can't they get these guys out of here and get that street back to the way it should be? It just boggles the mind. It's something that I think I could fix probably within a week if you give me the manpower. It's not that hard to do. You get a bunch of people, you surround the area, you pincer these guys into those alleys, like I told you, where they run and hide, and you get them all. Or you get the majority of them. You chase them down if you have to. You chase them down with bike cops, you chase them down with scooter cops, you chase them down with horse cops, and you chase them down with cops on foot. And you get them all. And then you backtrack to the facilities where they get this product from, and you bust that facility, and you close it permanently. Because some of these guys are bringing this shit in from out of state, like Pennsylvania. Dozens of teenage girls rescued from New York sewer system after exploration attempt goes wrong. So they weren't in the New York City sewage. They were like upstate in some of the connecting tunnels, water tunnels that there exist, like in Nyack and places like that are north of Manhattan. This was in Nyack, so you can see this is like a culvert or like a water tunnel where water goes through, and this water sometimes goes all the way down through these areas through to the city, right? That's how New York's water system is. It's plus when the Erie Canal was built, a lot of different systems were built around that. This is tunnels and water systems that go all the way up state to New York and down to the city. So some girls went into that tunnel and I guess got lost. Is it something else? Maybe, probably not. Just wanted to note it. New York City politics. Kathy Hochul's office lied about state budget costs, underestimated by $9 billion. Or you bailed out the city, you gave them an extra 4, and then I don't know where the other money is. The Spurs have scored 105 points 2 times and 106 points once in the 3 NBA Finals games. I just thought that was interesting that all the games, their scores only were within 1 point of each other, the Spurs games. Very close. House vote to extend FISA spy tool fails as Friday deadline looms, so FISA's gone for now. DOJ subpoenas banks and political bias inquiry. We asked lawmakers why Epstein's pal Bill Gates was allowed to testify behind closed doors. Well, because they don't want the public to see it. It's pretty obvious why. Holko's budget is almost $9 billion larger than she claimed. That's a big oversight. That's huge. Where'd you get the $9 billion extra dollars from? Something's very suspicious about that. She's blasted for not knowing what's in it. So did somebody else just make the whole budget up for you and then give Mamdani $4 billion extra to bail his ass out? That's a huge amount of money that you don't even know where it came from or what it's going for. U.S. citizenship draws scrutiny for Colombian presidential candidate. Is he a dual citizen? That's not good. Hunter Biden teases massive new role with Gavin Newsom. Is he going to work for Gavin Newsom's campaign? That can't be good for your campaign. What is he running for? President? Newsom? What is he going to be? Vice president? That's a ticket no one's going to want. Mamdani cashed in on mayoral perks for Knicks tickets and downplayed the price, sources are saying. Did you pay $1,000 for that ticket or more? Sorry, I doubled up that article. Video reveals dirty Victor Wembanyama lunge at OG Anunoby's leg. Let's show this because I don't want you to say I'm making shit up. I mean, he obviously did it. This should have been a massive fine. You should have been actually ejected out of the game. And you could see him lunging at his leg. Look at how big this dude's foot is. It takes up half his fucking thigh. And he missed. He somehow just missed his leg. He did that on purpose, trying to set up a pick. And then, of course, there's him pushing Jalen Brunson down, sorry. The play involving Victor Wembanyama and OG Anunoby occurred at the end of the first quarter in Wednesday's game. So he could have crippled him if that had actually worked. If you want to really hurt somebody, kick them in the side of their leg like that from the side. You could break their leg if you know how to kick right. So the Trump administration has allegedly tracked down 146,000 unaccompanied migrant children lost. Where were they all these years? In some foster person's home being abused or something? I don't understand. They were lost in places like New York, Chicago, LA. They refused to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. It doesn't make any sense. Traffickers, feds identify 15,500 sponsors of multiple unaccompanied kids. So there's some of these people have more than one unaccompanied minor in their house. Former South Korean President Yoon sentenced to 30 years in drone case. Northern Ireland, 12 police hurt, 16 arrests, and second night of riots. Yeah, people are not having it there anymore. I think they've reached that point, the breaking point with it. I'm surprised I'm not seeing more citizen patrols, right? Where men and women and groups are going out in large groups, not meaning to be violent, but also not shying away from it if it's necessary to deal with certain people who are committing violence outside, right? Hoops sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for brutal assault against an ICE agent. Robert Jacob Hoops, 25, of Portland, threw a large rock at an ICE agent's head within close proximity. Yeah, that's in some places is called attempted murder. I wrote peaceful activist, as this guy calls himself, don't throw rocks at people's heads. That's attempted murder charge, not a 3-year charge. Yeah, that should have been much more of a strict charge, but you're talking about Portland, Oregon. Carmelo Anthony supporters inundate Metcalf family with death threats after guilty verdict. I mean, it's just disgusting. He effed around and found out, one message read. Can you imagine having to deal with death threats after your son's already been murdered by some of these same people and then they're threatening your life? And then you have people in the political process are saying, yeah, I would have done the same thing. Like not even understanding what happened in this case. ActBlue CEO pleads the fifth 22 times in Congress when asked about fraud. Foreign donations established in 2004. ActBlue is the juggernaut of funding for the Democratic Party. Your CEO pled the fifth 22 times under oath. That's bad. State Department cracks down on massive birth tourism schemes in Africa, Europe, revokes visitor visas for expectant moms who paid for U.S. citizenship for unborn babies. So this is all over. It's not just China doing it. China's just one of the people that have birth hotels. Just one. There's multiple. You can see there's different European countries are doing it. Why? Because it's it's easy to do. Excuse me. It's easy to do. It's easy to get a visa to come here now. It's easy to cut the line. If you have enough money, it's easy to get all this stuff done for you. It shouldn't be. DOJ indicts 8 people who launched chemical attack against University of Michigan officials to free Palestine. The defendants allegedly enacted a series of coordinated actions. I mean, these are all the Singham group. These are all the Soros group. These are, coordinated groups that are doing this. It's not a bunch of kids that just got upset that Palestine's not free, right? Who probably don't even understand any of the history of the place, who don't know anything about it. Who just saw an ad, hey, you want to be a paid protester? You want to make $25 an hour? Trump plans to deport Iranians to violence-plagued Central African nation in new deals. He's going to remove Iranians and put them in Africa. Talk about a place where you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. How do you get back to Iran from Africa? I wouldn't even know. Good luck. Switzerland moves to cap population at 10 million with 1 in 3 residents now being foreign-born. You're losing your whole... Right? You're losing your country and you realize you're losing it. And you realize if you don't do anything soon, you're going to lose... Your country's going to become something different, right? Not what it's been for the last, 200 or 300 years. It's definitely going to be way less white. That's the point, right? We want it as less white as possible. We want to mix it, darker races in there as much as possible and force you to mate with those races so that your whole society will change, right? And what we're hoping is that the majority of those people will be Muslim. Spencer Pratt drops bombshell clip with claims of video evidence that will force morons Rahman Abbas to resign. Well, drop it then. What the fuck are you waiting for? I would have dropped it the first day of the campaign. World Cup, Mexico defeats South Africa. Some people are alleging Mexico is going to get to the final. We'll see if that's true. Appeals court denies former crypto mogul Sam Bankman fraud. I would think Argentina's getting there, or would be close, but I don't know. USA looked pretty good. Beat Paraguay 4-1. Some very pinpoint passing going on that I really liked. Not a big soccer fan, but I watch the highlights. It's easier for me. I can't sit there for a whole soccer game. I just get bored. Mystery of missing UFO linked Air Force general deepens as new photo reveals final moments before vanishing. So what's the deal with all these guys vanishing for? Were they working on UFOs? Did they already work on it? Did they know of UFOs? I don't understand why they're all just getting killed or disappeared. Well, what's the point? They're not going to let UFO tech come out now, I'm assuming that means? They want to control who brings it out? I don't know. They want Space Force to do it. They want Elon Musk company to do it. I don't know. He hasn't said he's building any kind of craft like that. I mean, he can't even build an electric car that works properly. Heiress who sued Barclays HSBC for alleged money laundering with Ghislaine Maxwell link seeks $15 billion in damages. Something having to do with Ghislaine Maxwell, who's still in jail. Gazans are calling for grassroots revolution against Hamas after unspeakable violence. We are coming. So that's the first I've heard of that. Who's going to give these people guns to fight against Hamas with? You think Iran's going to do that? I don't think so. Could some other Muslim nations in the region fund those people, or the United States might? Yeah. I bet you the U.S. might. I bet you Israel may. Frente Aragua leader killed in dramatic U.S. airstrike, marking new level of cooperation with Venezuela. How do they know he was at that location? Whoever, if somebody was in that location, they're definitely dead. Because they blew that thing up big. They used a large rocket. That may have been a 500-pound bomb. That was a huge explosion. New York City Schools Chancellor Kamar Samuels is a dead man walking after being grilled over no-bid contracts. So if he in fact gave out no-bid contracts, that's illegal. That should be illegal. You're supposed to solicit bids from different vendors for projects for the city, for city agencies, especially in New York City schools. They have to be. We have to get the best money for bang for our dollar. So all those contracts should be bidded on by multiple bidders so that we can get the best price. When you do a no bid contract, you're doing the opposite of that. You're letting one person tell you what they're going to do the job for, which may be too expensive or more than it should be, and then you're just saying, okay, we'll pay that price without any bargaining of any kind. NYPD will be out in full force to bust sex trafficking during FIFA World Cup. Okay, that's great, but what about after it's gone and before? You're not doing much about it? You're not busting the prostitution? Why not? Why are you only cleaning up areas when the World Cup is coming? Why aren't you cleaning those areas up 365 days a year? Why aren't you going to war with these prostitution groups? Because they're the ones that human traffic and exploit women the most. Is people involved in prostitution, because that's sex work. So just for the World Cup, right? Then it's back to normal. Great. That's how it shows how fake you people are. How really you're not really looking to fight certain crimes. You want to let them flourish, right? Like they don't really want to go bust prostitution that much. They consider it a harmless crime. But when you got prostitutes walking the stroll right where your kids have to walk by to go to school every day and go to the bus, that's a problem. That shouldn't be, right? Wild brawl breaks out as hundreds of teens descend on Southern California beach. So again, it's African American, mostly kids doing this. I'm not sure why. What's going on? Is it mass psychosis of some kind? I'm not really sure. It's some getting these kids to become violent over something. I don't know if it's beefs with different gangs or if it's just school beef stuff, or I'm not really sure. But it seems like it's a lot of kids are on these websites that know how to when these things are happening. They're being coordinated somehow, and you got to figure out how that's happening. Why is it mostly African American groups doing this over and over and over again? Where are their parents? Why are they allowed to just go out at all hours of the day and night and cause violence? I'm not sure. Mexican official abruptly quits after fury over his pricey seats next to Trump. So this guy was at the finals not realizing, shit, I'm sitting right in front of where Trump is with my two sons. I'm a Mexican official that makes about $35,000 a year. How are you affording not just the tickets, but the travel to New York for 3 people, hotel stay for 3 people? Okay, maybe you're staying all in the same room. Still, it's expensive, right? I'm flying to fucking New York for the finals. I'm staying in a probably halfway decent hotel is going to cost you at least a couple of hundred a night. Maybe 175, 200, maybe if it's cheap. Maybe cheaper if you're staying out by the airports, but still you're paying for an extremely expensive NBA ticket that I don't know how you got for. You probably spent thousands and thousands of dollars per ticket. How'd you afford that on your $35,000 a year salary? Whoops. Guy had to retire that day because they got caught out there, right? There's no way you can explain that away. You've obviously been taking bribes or some kind of stealing funds in some way to enrich yourself, and that's all through Mexico. He's not the only one doing it. He's just one of many. Here's an anti-Semitic Cornell student turned down an interview because he's not interested in working for a Jew. Wow. That's going to be a problem for you because now guess what? You're labeled as a bigot. Who wants to hire this bigot? Right? Maybe another company says, you know what? I don't like the fact that you won't work for a certain group of people. Why is that? You've judged an entire group of people to be bad? Okay. You don't want to work for a Jewish guy who's your boss? Okay. That's odd. Who will you work for then? New York Knicks watch party tickets were listed for over $1,400 each, as insane prices flood secondary market. So that's just to watch in the street. That's not even, or by the Madison Square Garden, I'm saying. there's a big screen. But why would you want to spend that much money to do that? You're standing around. You got no seat. There's no way to get drinks or beverages. There's no bathroom. It's hot. It was 90-something degrees the other day. It's humid as fuck. That's the last place I want to be, is surrounded by a whole bunch of other people jumping around when it's still 85 degrees at night. And I'm paying $1,400 to do it. No thanks. If I'm going to blow $1,400, I'll go rent like a suite at some sick hotel, get myself a whole bunch of food, some Zaza, whatever I'm getting, some booze, invite a bunch of friends over, and party it up for less than $1,000. I could do it. Easy. Why would I want to stand in the street? Trump says Iran peace deal will be signed Sunday. We'll see if he's right. But he's not removing the mullahs, right? He's not removing the religious leaders that are the problem there, that everybody wants removed. He's bargaining with those people. He's allowing them to get away with it. New York City Council demands Mamdani seize private property to save Manhattan's Underground Railroad site. Is that even legal, I wrote? This is not a mandatory project or something that must be done. It's the Underground Railroad. How are you going to use eminent domain to seize that person's property? To make a museum? Mamdani is set to cut nearly 300 school safety agents as felony assaults rise. I mean, the schools are becoming more violent. Why would you have less safety agents? That makes no sense. Now the schools are going to be worse. Intelligent design, the radical genius sperm bank experiment that only accepted Nobel Prize winners' semen. Sounds like what Epstein was trying to do, right? But the sperm bank of geniuses already existed. So is that what he's trying to get going again? The genius sperm bank? Sounds like it. How the trucking industry has become part of the immigration debate and left safety as the main casualty. That's an opinion piece, I think. New York Post. Yeah, it's one of those jobs that some of these guys can do, right? It's easy. You drive a truck, but you got to speak English. You got to know how to drive it. How the rules of the road are here. It's not easy to drive a large truck. It takes a while to learn how to take the turns, and it's dangerous driving an 18-wheeler. USS Gerald Ford may never sail again. So the fire that was aboard the Gerald Ford, we don't know if it was from Iranian attack or from an actual electrical fire, but the damage is much more extensive than they let on. I believe it took 30 hours to put that fire out too. So the fire suppression on the ship itself malfunctioned. That was supposed to kick in and put the fire out or help to put it out. All those sprinkler systems in that system malfunctioned completely, which left the fire suppression to be put out only by the crew members, which was very difficult to do under those circumstances. Spencer Pratt claims political enemies torched his business after blaze tears to his office. So then Spencer Pratt's business just burnt down. Is that where he had the evidence of whatever they were saying? Is that why they did that to him? I hope that he had that evidence somewhere else. Because if you didn't, they just burnt the place down where you had all your stuff. So I just wanted to note that I had a show 4 years ago that was entitled Hunter Biden Partnered with the U.S. Defense Department in Ukraine Biolabs. Here's that show. If you want to find it, you can copy this and paste it into a link. It's from 4 years ago, around the time when I believe the allegations came out. Documents show that Rosemont, this is my blurb now from that show, which was from 4 years ago. Documents show that Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, part of the Rosemont Seneca companies overseen by Hunter Biden, teamed with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency and others to fund Ukrainian biolabs, right? We already looked into the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. Rosemont Seneca gave $30 million in funding to Metabiota in 2015, which later worked in Ukraine isolating dangerous pathogens. Documents also show a link between Hunter Biden, Metabiota, and EcoHealth Alliance, which is Peter Daszak, right? Other documents show that experiments were going on with anthrax and other dangerous, highly contagious pathogens. Experiments were done on pigs and also dogs having to do with anthrax. Mitch McConnell says he won't vote for Ketanji Brown. This is the rest of the blurb, but that's the main part of it. Remember the Metabiota angle and that Hunter Biden is involved with one of his LLCs is involved with Metabiota in 2015. We went and backtracked that story. Not a lot of other people had. That's my point. So you can go check that article, that show out from 4 years ago if you want to get into the Metabiota angle of it. Look into Hunter Biden and his LLCs and their connection to Metabiota. We already covered that. We have done multiple shows on Metabiota, I believe. Freezing crypto and dropping missiles, the inside story of how Trump got Iran to bend economic warfare. Trump targets Iran's cryptocurrency networks to enforce pre-existing sanctions and starve the theocratic regime of revenue. Senior Haitian government official was abducted by armed assailants, report says. Haiti's capital remains heavily affected by gang activity. The Viv Ansan Alliance is estimated to control about 70% of Port-au-Prince. So remember, what was that gangster's name who was burning the people up in the tires, remember? Barbecue. Where's Barbecue? Is he still around lighting people up on fire? It sounds like it. Haiti's completely destabilized. We never did anything to fix it. You never did anything to help it. Zoran Mamdani hit with outrage from World Cup fans as socialist mayor watches Brazil versus Morocco from luxury suite for free. Now he's getting used to it. Now he's like, wait a minute, why would I pay for my MetLife ticket? I'll just go hang out with Hochul for an afternoon for free, man. I don't need to work today. I'm going to get it all free now. Why should I pay $1,000 for standing room? No. I'm going to get the best seats in the house because I'm the mayor and I can do that. So that's where we are, friends. I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. Here's my notes that I have real quick, and then I'll let you go. So we know that the DOJ is connected to January 6th, right? We know that agents in the FBI also were connected in the sense that they sent agents into the crowd during January 6th to destabilize the event, to make it look and appear that it was more violent when it actually wasn't, right? To put people inside the House, the Senate building, and to become violent, right? Start to break things and etc. So I have FBI, CIA, DOJ, January 6th. Then I have Arizona, election interference there. We have Runbeck sending the ballots through to Georgia. If you remember, Runbeck sent ballots to Georgia. Fake ballots, I'm assuming. Remember the fake ballots that people had caught people calling China to order ballots, right? Then I have General Flynn, Alex Jones, Tina Peters, all these people over there, Roger Stone on that angle. What is their plan? What were they trying to do? They were trying to get Trump in a situation where it appeared that he was condoning these attacks, right? Condoning an insurrection of some kind. They, in fact, wanted him to use the Insurrection Act that day, but he didn't do it, apparently, right? What other things am I seeing? Mass killings. A lot of families committing suicide, like the father will kill himself and the whole family. We're seeing mass fights with kids, mostly African American kids, becoming massively violent, fighting each other in mass events of like, these are like massive loosh events where you have like huge amounts of kids getting together and for some reason just wanting to fight each other. Family suicides, I said already. Mass killings, of course, we've been seeing those for years in the schools. Mass shootings continue to go on as we ascend and go into higher densities. That's part of this, right? They want to stop you from ascending to a higher density because in that density, they cannot exist, is my guess. In that density, they cannot exist on this planet inside of a human meat suit, right? That they may be inhabiting right now through a walk-in or through a proboscis taking over a human body, through different means that they have to do it, right? Maybe through cloning, maybe through these people want to inhabit human form in the 3D because they are not from the 3D, and so to be able to experience what it's like to be a human in 3D, they have to take over a human body or make a clone of some kind or whatever it is, right? And that's the only way that these kind of creatures like the Draco reptilian can exist, or maybe maybe the mantis beings can exist in a human meat suit. So are we a human being having a spiritual experience? Are you a spiritual being having a human experience? I think we're a spiritual being having a human experience, and that when whatever this suit that we inhabit for a time, that we put our energy into for a time so that we can inhabit 3D, is a way for us to learn to experience that dimension, to experience what it has to offer us, duality, ego, karma, these things, lessons that we're seeking to learn, and then to eventually to graduate out of that like a school in a sense, and to move on to 4D and then 5D, where uh, where loosh and these negative vibrations don't tend to exist the same way. They don't exist, and they're more of a love based, I'm assuming, vibration. So the way we win, my final conclusion is, the way we win is through acceptance. The way we win is through observing without judgment. The way we win is mastery of karma and ego. The way we win is mastery of anger and fear and violence and stopping all these negative emotions. The less that we will pay attention to the fake news, the more that will begin to fade away, and other pundits will rise up. Truth tellers and way showers are rising up to try to show the way, to try to show how. That was part of why I wanted to do this channel, in a sense, was to show how propaganda is used against the public, to show how media is used, and to maybe be some kind of a force for good in this struggle, where how could I differentiate myself from the hundreds of other pundits that are doing this? Well, the only thing I could think of was that I would never ask for your money. I would never ask for a coffee. I would never profit even 1 cent from it. And therefore, I could differentiate myself and show you that, hey, not everybody is doing this to make a buck. There's actually people out here that care about their country, that care about humanity, that maybe they're getting old in the game and have seen, feel like they have no use in the world, that want to be useful in some way. And this is a way that I feel that I could be of use in this battle, and also to hold the energy of this place, right? To try to hold positive energy that's coming in and ground it into this matrix and ground it into the new grid that's being created for 4 and 5D. Once we can do that to a point, I think these bad energy people, the low energy, low vibratory creatures and beings and people will vanish and disappear, because they just won't be able to live here anymore. So that's what my hope is for. I hope you're well. I hope that happens soon. That's why, like I said, the way we win is to not give them the loosh, not give them the fear, not give them the anger that they live on, not give them the violence and the anger and the fear that they live on. Instead, to observe without judgment, to send love to the grid, to send understanding and acceptance to others, even if they try to hurt us. Because the way to diffuse anger is through love. That's the strongest emotion. That's the strongest vibratory state is love. So friends, I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPNP News, signing off for now.